You guys, we are live today. It's great to welcome John Wasden, Greg Siski. We're all back from a wildly relaxing week in New York. If you can ever have a relaxing week in New York. So we were all at the annual conference of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. We were all traveling last Tuesday, which is why we didn't. People were fat. Did you stop doing updates? We're all gonna die. No, we did not stop doing updates. Look at Lily and Aaron are here. Got the whole show. We got the whole show here. So it was a refreshing few days. So every year, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which we're all members and leaders in many ways, had our annual conference for the first time in person in 3 years in the great state of New York. And we all spoke, we all learned stuff, and now we're ready. It's like going and getting your engines refueled. Now we're ready.
It was great, but relaxing it was not. It was great.
Hotel was on Times Square, the main hotel, but the conference was a mile away at the Javits Center.
I did the bike share. That's how I got there. It was fast.
Did you bike?
Biked the city bikes.
Oh, did you?
That's brave.
How to use them? Yeah, you just leave them wherever you want to? You just leave them wherever you want to? Is that
yeah, it's way faster than cabs.
I walked. I never took a cab. I walked every day. It's 17 minutes. And although, one day it was 60, the next day it was 90. So it's a little, the walking can get you sweated up. That is great to be.
No one wants to hear about it. No, they have.
It was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
They want to hear about all of the exciting new updates from USCIS, how they are going to automatically adjudicate everyone's pending EADs and 485s and eliminate the backlog. Oh, right. No, they promised that they are going to do their best.
Literally, I think they were lying. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Before we get that,
as George Costanza once said, it's not a lie if you believe it.
It's not a lie if you believe it. You're exactly right. The Donald Trump mantra is the defense. No, we need to talk about DV 2020 and DV 2021 first, because literally minutes ago, we received notice that oral argument is now scheduled in the Good Luck case, which encompasses Go and Gomez. And Acker, it's all part of that case, for Friday, September 16th.
In person.
And it just so happens I'm free that day. So book your tickets. We're going to D.C., baby. What we don't know yet is who the judges are. We don't know what we call the panel. The panel are the 3 judges that will hear the case out of the 15, I think, judges on the D.C. circuit. So we don't know who that will be. Obviously, the panel makes the difference. I mean, how this case may go. And we haven't spoken to our co-counsels yet, so we don't know how oral argument will go. But we are obviously excited. We have a rather unique part of that case in that we, for Go, really for Acker, DV 2020, that's kind of the Gomez case. It is what it is.
John, you guys have a case in there too, don't you?
Yeah. The 2022 we do. We had a H1B specific case that was wrapped up with Go.
Right. But Jesse still is on Gomez.
Jesse's on the Gomez case, right? So
you guys are still connected even through that case. So
just stuck in. You can't get away.
The gift that keeps on giving.
This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We will gear up for that day and we will present the case. It is but the part we have that's unique is that we are complaining about Judge Mehta's math. We don't think his math is correct. In fact, we know it's not correct, but so we're looking for more of
everything else about it.
Everything else is the same, but yeah, we're kind of looking for it. Anyway, that's the update. What's going on? That's what's going on September 16th. And we'll get a decision later that day. So that same day we'll get it. No, we won't get a decision.
A couple more points on that. People are asking me if who the judges are. We won't know till about 30 days before the panel, and we won't know the breakdown of time, how much time parties are going to get until sometime before the panel as well. So we don't have that information yet. We just have the date of the hearing. So that's exciting.
I'm wondering, Aaron, if this will be the only case on the docket, given that it's 5 different or 6 or 8 different cases.
I wonder. I assume they'll expand the time beyond the normal 15 minutes aside. But,
I would hope so, because I mean, I can talk fast,
right?
but I don't think he'd understand.
The list of DOJ lawyers on that notice, the hearing notice, was almost a page long. So you figure that they would have to give a little extra time.
They're going to have to. I'm just kind of curious. It'll be fun. What we will do is we will talk to our co-counsel, of which there are, there's just tons of us on this case, and see what's going to happen. I'm going to guess James Wen will not be arguing this case. Is my guess. That's the only guess I have about how that's going to go. So that's the Gomez-Acker DV 2021. On our DV 2022 case, just keep on the theme of DV. I know that, John, you guys have a DV 2022 case that's in a different type of procedural setup than ours is. And you guys have actually done some discovery and kind of moving forward. Where is your case, John? What jurisdiction?
We filed where the visa center's at in Kentucky.
That's right.
So, and a lot of it was a potentially risky move. We drew a judge who is, in Kentucky, they're going to be conservative anyway, but he's very good. And he's very insistent on the case getting wrapped up in time to make a difference if plaintiffs are successful. And we are going to trial before the end of the fiscal year.
It's so awesome. That is so awesome. Congratulations. We filed in DC and we got signed to Judge Mehta, who obviously is intimately familiar with these issues and really hasn't done anything yet on the case, because I think, unlike your judge who wants to have a trial and get it finished by the end of the fiscal year, I think Judge Mehta thinks, I'll just reserve again. And so I don't really have to finish it by the end of the year. I'll just reserve.
The only other thing on DV 2022 on our case is that, this is probably the same for John and Jesse's case as well, but they are mooting people out at a very rapid rate, and we're happy for that.
So we actually have 2 cases. One is Sydney specific because there's some peculiarities going on in the Sydney consulate, and all but a small handful had gotten their interviews. And then in the other case, like you said, they're just getting picked off. And my suspicion is that we will get up to the eve of a hearing date, and we will have our last client picked off before we actually have to do anything in front of the judge.
One of the things, the problem we face, we have a number of Russians that nobody wants to do their case. Warsaw was doing them, and then said, basically, we're full of Ukrainians, sorry. And everybody else is saying no. So for those clients, we'll be reaching out to government counsel, and who apparently maintains a better list than we do of our clients as far as their case status. Because people are telling us, look, if you're our client, you need to tell us if you get your visa, okay? Please, right, Lily? Please.
Yes, and we have a nice little form to do it. You don't have to email us and wait for a response. It's a simple little web form. We can resend that out if folks haven't received it in a while, but
that's probably
that helps us keep track of our statistics and who's moving where.
That's good. And we'll ask the government what he wants to do with the Russians at this point, because I don't know if you noticed, but I don't think the war is going to end anytime soon. So there we are.
I think one thing that I'm really interested in seeing what Judge Mehta does is if he uses his formula again, it should be a much higher number, because he's basing his formula on how much is happening in immediate relatives, and immediate relative processing seems like it's back to pre-COVID levels. So if that were the case, we could see a substantially higher number of visas reserved. We'll have to see how whether Judge Mehta, how much he stands by that formula.
Oh, well, or he corrects the formula to reflect the correct math. All right, let's jump to our next topic. This is actually our lawsuit, the I-140 Wastage lawsuit. Now, Lily kind of implied that with the conference, we had as one of our featured speaker the actual director of the USCIS, or Chadu. The morning of the conference, the USCIS released an FAQ. In fact, would you guys mind if I shared this particular screen? Because I think it would be a good thing to look at, because there's things that, so we got to share my screen. Let's see. I want to share this. Okay, so here's the shared screen for folks. This is.
I think that's the first time we're doing this.
That's pretty cool. Screen. Like, I mean, we are like tech.
Very
on
excited.
There is this interesting thing. First of all, they start out with excuses. What are the key challenges? So they say, hey, look, we had 262,000 available in fiscal year last year. They used 195. They left almost 80,000 on the table. And last year DOS issued only 19,000 last fiscal year, which is obvious because they had no priority. They were the lowest priority. They were let down with DVs. So this year they're issuing more, and they're about 280,000 this year. So they have more available this year than last year. What they said, as of mid-June, so they had these very specific numbers up here, and then they get into squishy. They get into squishy. Hey, as of mid-June, right before the AILA conference, we've used significantly more than fiscal year 2021. Now, I know, Greg, you looked at the numbers for first quarter of fiscal year 2022, and that was what number? That was what, 45?
Yeah, it's not nearly enough.
No, and if they did that every quarter, that's 180,000. So that's obviously doesn't get them there. What we don't have are second quarter numbers because they've never released them, and obviously the third quarter ends in 9 days, and so we don't know. Now, we have made an inquiry through channels to find out how many they've issued. I will tell you this, and I don't know, Greg, Aaron, are you guys flooded with approval notices for EB cases? Because I'm not.
Scroll down a little bit more, Chuck.
All right, so let's scroll down a little bit here. We want to go down, and it tells you
all these things that they're doing. Although this whole thing with trying to get people to file an EB2 is a bunch of BS. They should just make that category current and the other one current if they want to get these numbers done. But where is it that they say that
a little further down? It's down here. Let me find it. Here it is. So they said this. So we're gonna find it. First of all, this here is talking about, hey, we evaluated our inventory and we weren't going to reach the annual limit for EB1 and EB2, right? That's like, what? They all flow down into one another. All right. So here is the key that you're referring to.
No, that's not it, but I will show you in a second. It was higher up. It was when they were talking about the hedge. Remember the hedge? They were saying, we're going to get everything done this fiscal year.
Oh, that, yes. That's a little bit of, let's see. I thought that was up here.
A little more. That's it. Capacity constraints. So they said that the previous paragraph, they said that they're well positioned to use all the employment-based numbers.
Right here.
Here you go. Twitter got all excited, and people saying, "Oh, no, we don't need litigation. We're all going to get our visa. Look, USCIS just told us that they're going to get them all done this year." And then the very next paragraph, they talk about why they might not meet the numbers. Where it's the first one is just like ridiculous because capacity constraints are the whole problem that the agency is claiming that is their excuse for not doing anything in any of these categories. So it just seems like I don't understand why they bother saying in the previous paragraph they're going to get it all done and then admit that they, that these capacity constraints. That was a big chunk of what Urgadu was talking about, was the challenges that they use, the hiring challenges, et cetera. as the reason why they are not getting these numbers done. Of course, that the answer to that is, well, then just reserve the numbers so that when you eventually get the hiring where you want it to, you'll be able to not get this job done, and rather than wasting them. And they still are not. They're still clinging to this position that they can't do that.
Well, and that was the thing that was making me craziest about when she and also the field office folks and the service center folks, they were all saying, talk to us before you sue us. We are spending so much money on litigation, and it makes it harder to resolve issues. And all of you know what happens when you try to request to talk to them about your case, right? And we're happy there is a collaborative solution in this case, right? As Greg said, if you would agree with us that you can reserve the visa numbers, if only the court would allow you to do so, then we could get together, ask the court to confirm that they can do that, and poof, they get a little bit of an extension, everyone gets their green cards, no numbers go to waste, right? Why are they still fighting us instead of just going ahead and prioritizing adjudication and asking for the extension that we all hope they can get?
And they've had for many months a legal case laid out for them on how they can do that without violating any rules or regulations on there. If they want to do this, they already have the legal case laid out for them internally on there. There is an internal debate that's happened at USCIS on this very issue, and there are lawyers at USCIS who've made the case internally that they can do this. We know this because I've had conversations with people at the agency on there, but they have made a policy call here and not a legal call, in my view.
Well, this is all interesting. What I loved about this memo was this cockamamie explanation here, and I use the cockamamie word, literally as opposed to expressively, about how they don't think that EB1s and EB2s flow down to EB3, trying to explain why they're encouraging people to apply for EB2s.
That's a novel legal theory. That's a lot more of a stretch, legally speaking, than reserving visas.
Yeah, this is literally utter nonsense, saying unless every country is current in EB1 and EB2, the numbers can't flow down to EB3. Okay, then, all right, I get that. So EB1 is current for every country, right? So EB2, well, if you're sitting on 300,000 Indian and 100,000 Chinese EB2s, why aren't you adjudicating? Why are you asking for more? Just do them. Just do them. The 7% thing goes away if you don't use the rest. This is nonsense. It's just literal, utter nonsense. And I think the only reason this is here, gal, is because we've been talking about it. This to me is a defensive memo. John, I'd like to get, you were in the government, you were at CIS. Why did they issue this today, the last week?
The timing, it's not accidental. So there was two things about the timing. One, it was coincided with ER's talk at AILA. So trying to, build some street cred or some good feelings with the crowd. The other thing is too, I still have a lot of contacts in the government, people I still get together with on occasion. And they are intently watching everything that we collectively do and trying to get one step ahead of us and try and make the bleeding stop before it gets too bad and they lose consciousness. So that, I think, is the two things that drove the timing of this memo, drove the creation of the memo, and the timing was ER's talk at USCIS or AILA's conference.
So this is out there. What's great for us is they say they're going to use the numbers. We all know they're not going to use all the numbers, and we have already drafted our complaint. First draft is now done. We'll be polishing that up over the next week or so. The plan is to file it on July 5.
Right.
5th, 6th, whatever the day after the holiday is. And we're still taking plaintiffs. And now, Greg, why should you be a plaintiff in this suit? Why should you click on this link? Why should you do it if they're going to use all the numbers? Because they're not.
Well, if you think they're going to use all the numbers, and you really have, if you really have faith that the government is going to do that, and you believe, and I guess that you don't have to be in this case, if you have been screwed over and over again by the Immigration Service and with them not keeping their word, and you don't have full faith that they are going to be able to live up to that commitment, you should be in the case, because people that are in our case are, generally speaking, the odds are better if you litigate than if you don't litigate, if they are not going to issue all of those visas. We saw basically in the Kang case for employment authorization documents, what happens. The government basically, in not every case, but in a lot of cases, they will quickly adjudicate and try and moot out people in litigation. And in our EAD case for the employment authorization documents, all of our plaintiffs got their employment authorization documents, and then the government sought to kill the class action part of the case, saying that the judge should dismiss the case because the plaintiffs have all gotten their benefits. So generally speaking, being in this case is going to improve your odds of getting this adjustment before September 30th. You might get it without being in this case, and that's possible. But it's you're basically what we're saying is that there might be a significant benefit if you're part of this case, and the government starts mooting out people by adjudicating their cases before September 30th.
I will share you one thing that. Oh yeah, John.
Yeah, just effectively an insurance policy, because like Chuck was saying earlier, the memo that they put out there has all of these caveats, and all the caveats that are at the end of that memo correlate to the 6 different factors we would have to be litigating against them for on delays. And so looking at that, it tells me more than anything that they have no intention and no capability or intention of making all of those numbers used in this fiscal year. So they're laying out their legal defense for why they haven't gotten everything done that they should get done. So I don't expect they will be good to their word on their laudatory aspirational claims that they're going to use all the visas.
Well, an interesting part about this.
No, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about this is that the fiscal year, we did a lot of fiscal year stuff for DV 2020, but that was all State Department, right? I mean, the they don't really run against deadlines at state ever, right? They get done whenever they get done. So USCIS has end of year is important to them. One, this is an election year, right? And basically you have to be naturalized by September 30th in order to vote in most states. I mean, basically it's 30 days before the election. So you want to vote in November, you got to be a citizen by the end of September. That's a fiscal year thing. So the local offices really focus on naturalization all the whole summer through September every election year. I mean, that's a given. Second, Urchadu said, and I think it was 79,000 EBAOS cases have been sent out to the local offices for adjudication. By whom? By whom?
Right.
People that are
She also made a point of saying all those Afghan and Ukrainian cases are their excuse as well for why they're not going to be working on all this other stuff. They have all those cases to work on. Chuck, you and I had talked about, I mean, basically, to their credit, they are getting more cases probably approved per month now than they have in years. But they have a lot more than a normal year to get done. So the only, even if they continue at this pace where they're doing a lot more than they ever have, they're still going to fall 100,000 short. And they've got 90 days to get through all of that. It is just not going to happen, in my view. The only way that they are going to save these visas is to reserve them.
I agree.
So, they were talking about resource constraints, which means they don't think they have enough people to do the job. But what you just said is interesting, because in prior cases in Discovery, we got their actual manning numbers for adjudicators as it increased over the Trump administration, almost like 20 or 30%, I want to say. So they have way more capacity than they've ever had. So of course they should be doing more petitions than they've ever done before, but their percentage of work getting done is not that efficient. They're actually doing less per man hour than they were before.
I think
also, it's not like they're even approving the Afghan parole, right? They are sending these mass denial notices to our allies and their families. If, you know, always blame the humanitarian folks when they can't handle the employment base.
I think I saw 367 approvals out of 90,000 Afghan. Give me some crazy number like
90% denial rate. Well, you know, and Aaron pointed out for the Afghans that, you know, you would think, well, they're denying 90% of these cases. They must be spending a lot of time writing these denials, and why they're doing it. But the denials themselves just say, you didn't qualify for the program, goodbye on there. So they're which is another problem on there. But, you know, they have a million excuses. The bottom line is that they are just not going to get the numbers done. I don't see any way that they are going to finish this up in time without some radical change in their way that they adjudicate these petitions in the next 90 days. That's all that's left.
Yep, that's all we got. So sign up for the EB mandamus and wastage litigation. Just a quick update on EB5s. The cases have been served. Government responses are due, I think, this week in almost all the cases. I know we gave one extension in one case for the government because of travel issues, and we're not jerks with the government, right? We're not going to say no, you need to work during your vacation. I mean, whatever.
So that was the Jane,
I think the Jane case, right?
That was just a 1 week extension, and then for Latanga, which is our consular processing case, we actually did agree to a 60-day extension because we see that they are moving our cases. That attorney is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good, the EB5 case is a good example of the government moving these cases along on there after litigation starts. So, you know, in that case, one of the reasons why we're being patient with the government is we're actually seeing these cases get approved.
They passed all the ones that were stuck at USCIS. They passed on to the State Department, and the State Department issued the fee bills for those cases so that folks can actually apply. And then the folks whose cases were already at Department of State, a bunch of our clients have had their interviews set already. There are a few who are still waiting, but we thought that was good progress, and they're working in good faith. So congrats to our clients who are moving along, and we hope to see more of that for more of you.
Speaking of moving along, Lily, so we are literally waiting on a decision from the judge for months now. There is no way to force a federal judge, unless, John, you know, a secret of some kind, to force a federal judge to make a decision on a case. I did learn that there are 3,000 criminal cases pending in D.C. from the January 6th insurrection, so it does explain a little bit of the backlog there. Lily, I know people continuously updating you that they've been issued or approved or got married and filed on their case or broke up.
I'm getting a few a week of, you know, either more interviews scheduled or a couple of you letting us know that the visas are issued. So they are still moving, but there are still some of you still stuck at the National Visa Center, some of whom are folks who just haven't sent me any updates in a while, but there are quite a few folks who updated us earlier this spring to say that they're still stuck at NVC. And the data is still showing that a lot of cases are moving roughly in order of documentarily complete date at the NVC, but a lot of them really are not. I mean, the state keeps insisting that that's what they're doing.
First in, first out's a lie. It just doesn't exist. It just doesn't work. We just want to let you're on top of mind, and just nothing we can do to force a judge to make it faster. I do want to just put this up briefly, Greg, because of a little email we received from folks in the H1B Lottery abuse case that apparently at the consulates, some people are being denied visas who applied multiple times. That's
and getting permanent bars.
Permanent bars for fraud.
For what?
For filing multiple applications, I guess. I don't know. So
they're being given a fraud bar?
Yes, that is the rumor that we are reporting here as a rumor.
I was trying to chase that down. It was another law firm who's a decent law firm that was reporting that this, and we're trying to get more information on it. But beware.
That would be interesting because for a fraud finding, you have to affirmatively make the statement, and for the lottery registration and the petition process, it's the employer making the statement. So that, I mean, talk about a great case to take on consular review.
that would kind of be fun, wouldn't it?
Not
we'll
everything
see,
we know is secondhand information, so we have to be kind of careful about what we say
so
on
it's
that,
it's a rumor. I'm reporting it as a rumor, no more. Just so everybody knows, I have a pending FOIA to CIS on the numbers of duplicate applications. So we're waiting to find out that I actually expect by the end of the month. Also, we're coming up in the next 9 days on the filing period. I forget what is it's 90. Wasn't it 90 days from April 1? Is that right? So that's coming up here next week, and then be prepared for the second lottery. We've heard no leak. Remember we had a leak about a month ago that there was only 14,000 filed. We've had no other leaks about how many have been filed today, but they never posted a notice saying you better hurry up, we're running out. So we haven't got that either. So I think be prepared for the second lottery coming up. We did talk briefly about the Kang case, Aaron. This is the EAD case, and we're just literally waiting for the judges. We have a joint filing due with the court
A week from today. Yeah, it was going to be today, but there were some circumstances for the government counsel where they couldn't work on the case for things outside of their control, and we were happy to extend it by 1 week. So it'll be a week from today, a supplemental filing on mootness.
So let's take a look. We got some comments and questions here. Let's see. Oh, DG, of course, these are his favorite in America. These are the only people in America he knows, but that's okay. We're happy to be your favorite. So the U.S. Embassy agrees to set the case. The case he has to reschedule the case because the vice president should request the case. I think he's talking about a DV 2022 for Russians. I think is what they're talking about here. Was the head of the KCC at the ALA conference? I don't think so.
I don't recall.
No. So what we'll do, we're going to reach out to government counsel, say, look, what's going on? What's the deal? Because actually government counsel in our case has actually been very cooperative with us. And so, and very helpful in some respects. So we'll see what we can do. Lottery abuse, we updated that, updated the Go case. Any time on a DB 2021? Aaron and I have talked about this before. Aaron, your best guess for a decision?
In September, probably late September.
You think we're going to get it the same month as oral argument?
Well, I don't think Judge Mehta wants to make decisions on these cases.
This is 2021.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I was confused. I was thinking 2022. No, that's going to be late this year at the earliest.
I think in December at the earliest. EB2 wastage. I'm currently July visa transfer from EB2 to EB2. How will this be handled in the case report? I don't know what case report you're referring to. Greg, Lily? I mean, presumably, if you have an early enough priority date and you go on EB2, you should jump to the front of the line. And they should adjudicate your case because they don't have enough applications. I think it really depends on what your priority date is. Let's see. Good to see Britt Simons listening to us today. Good to see you, Britt. This is hilarious. All right, Oksana. Some participants in the lawsuit moved their case to other embassies and received it. That's correct. Doing in court who could not transfer the case to other embassy. Well, if you are not adjudicated, you're our plaintiff. We're going to keep fighting to reserve the visa for you until you can get to a place that will adjudicate your case. That's the purpose of suing, is to get relief for you, because we didn't file a class action. Let's see. Philip from the Go plaintiff. It's been long in updates on the appeal. Well, we just gave you an update, Philip. There you go. Did we get 100 plaintiffs so far? I think we do have 100. Is that right? We have enough plaintiffs to proceed. So
yeah.
And keep in mind, for the Chakrabarty folks, we included you as long as you signed up again at no cost. So this is a deal for suing from your lawyers because we like you.
Right.
And we're still ticked off about Maryland.
Well, I wanted to say something about that because on social media, social media, we always get attacked by people who are claiming that we're just out for money and all that. And we could have basically said, if that was our motivation, we would have charged Chakrabarty plaintiffs to be in the case again on there. If our motivation wasn't to win, if it was just to collect money from people. So that's a reminder that, I mean, we in some of our cases, we've gone ahead even when we've had far fewer than we needed to be able, and it became a sort of a low bono case for us, if not a pro bono case in some of our cases. But we are suing in this case. We have enough. I just looked at the spreadsheet, and it is enough now. As far as venues and all that, there will be more to report soon.
Yeah, we're getting that together. It's going to be fun. I'm so looking forward to this lawsuit. This is going to be fun.
So
are we ready to talk about the possible fee increase for folks who want to sign on after we file?
That's a good point. So we extended the deadline because we were at the ALO conference and we still had time with the July 5th target to June 24th. After that, it becomes definitely a scramble to get people into the case, but our fee will be going up for that case by $1,000. So if you're thinking about this and you want to be in this case, there is a significant benefit to signing up before Friday.
So there you go. You want to do it now? It's on sale.
And some people like to see us file and then want to be part of an amendment. We will do an amendment later on, but it's going to be more expensive for you.
Oh yeah, beyond the 3 that you're talking about for the week after this. Any updates on U.S. citizens married to undocumented permanent bar? No. Congress will pass nothing on this.
There must be some kind of rumor going around because I'm getting a lot of inquiries about the permanent bar specifically, or that there's some kind of new marriage-based option for folks who have previously been subject to, other inadmissibility problems. So I don't know what y'all are seeing on social media or on foreign language media, but be careful who you pay.
There are things happening, but that's not one of them.
No, this is. I don't see it ever changing during my career as an immigration lawyer. The hate is strong with this one. Sai Prasad, do you think we have a good time for the judge to decide early about June? Oh yeah, we got time because we're going to be filing an injunction. So yes, we got time to get a decision. DV cases being settled. Well, that's great. Issue them all. I mean, it's great. But I don't think they're going to settle by voluntarily reserving numbers. State does not want to have they don't want the authority to reserve numbers. So there you go. Deriv, can USCIS say that people who did interfile, their PD just became current, so there's no delay? This is for litigation. I am part of it. All right. Interfiled 3 years back when they shifted the other side of the boat a decade ago. Because this new interfiling is not new. It's just different this time. I don't,
for most of these people, you would have gotten your green card last year had they actually used up all the numbers. So
yeah, you should have gotten it.
It's a little bit much for them to use that as the excuse. Right. If they were doing their job correctly in the first place, you would have had your green card months ago.
All right. I'm on DV to decline to sign the Abu Dhabi embassy. August interviews are already set. Are we? Well, I mean, they hit the 55. That's. I mean, the goal ultimately is you'll use all 55,000, right? We can't get any more than that. So if they hit it, they hit it.
If they did that, then they would have a pretty good argument in court, but it ain't going to happen.
The case is over. I don't see our case proceeding beyond that. That's all we got. So, thousands.
That's the goal, right? If that happens, we've won.
Well, the reality is they're supposed to be balancing these cases. I mean, John, if I'm wrong about this, they're supposed to be balancing each country's numbers against each other, so that that 0 Egyptians get it, but 10,000 Algerians. That's not how it's supposed to work.
So they've separated by the regions, as we all know, right?
Right.
And then each individual consulate's been given way too much latitude to prioritize what visas and what services they're offering. So I think we will see some anomalies. Now, what they said in depositions was that they are watching those numbers. And if there is a statistical outlier with some of the consulates, then they will do inquiries and basically nag them and follow up and bury them in administrative requirements in the hopes that they will start to comply.
I will say one thing here, and I don't know if Simon's still here, but this is not designed to have a lot of leftovers. The numbers that get used, they have all kinds of acronyms. They draw the number in the lottery that they think is a sufficient number to use up all the numbers. It's not designed to have 10 or 20,000 left over. So in most years, there's a reason why it becomes current toward the very end, because they've done their job correctly, and they have and everybody at the end is able to get a visa. That's what usually happens with DV in most fiscal years, at least that I've been practicing, that there aren't too many people who didn't get a number at the end, who didn't get a green card at the end because their number was too high, or one consulate was doing much more work than another. If they've done if the algorithm works correctly, and it seems like most years it does, that most people are not going to be denied a visa because their number was too high if the State Department is doing their job correctly.
There you go. Are family-based adjustments on a back burner? I would say absolutely not. Lily, you do family-based adjustments. Those are typically almost all done at local offices around the country, and that's taking 8 to 11 months from filing in Atlanta. I mean,
about the same in Memphis. I had one granted this week that we filed last fall. He never got his EAD or advanced parole, but hey, we got the green card. So
no, I don't. And that's actually the big deal. If you're sending all these employment-based cases to local offices, that is not their priority. One, two, most of them have no idea how employment-based immigration works. They don't know what questions to ask at the interview. It throws them off. So if anything, sending them to the local office is bad for business employment cases, not for family cases. If we win the Go appeal, put soap in your mouth. When we win the Go appeal, Department of State will be ready to issue the visa immediately. Well, what is your definition of the word immediate? I don't think that word means what you think it means, as far as the Department of State is concerned. To paraphrase one of my favorite movie quotes, I would. Now
they did say that they did claim that one of the reasons why they hadn't issued green cards yet was they were updating their systems and everything like that, and they said they were going to have them all done by spring of this year. So they should be ready to go.
Well, remember, so one of the things that Judge Mehta said when he granted the stay pending appeal, the last grant was a partial grant, in that he said you don't have to issue visas, but you are not permitted to pause the updates to your systems. Basically saying so that if plaintiffs prevail on appeal, you should be ready to go, hit the ground running. So they should be ready shortly after a decision.
Great. Venkat asked a good question. Once this referred to the I-140 lawsuit. What's the government's obligation to respond? Well, if we just filed the lawsuit and did nothing else, they would have 60 days to respond. But we will be filing for injunctive relief, preliminary or emergency, and so that shortens the time frame down to less than 30 days. So yeah, this will not be filed as a regular lawsuit as part of the application. Warsaw, 300 cases are ready, and there are 100 that were not in no order case number by date of sending the DS. So why is the case number important? Well, we've talked about this before in the DV lottery situation. Your case number is important in the context of who they are allowing to process at an embassy. But beyond the case order, a secondary and the primary order, and John, maybe you've got better understanding of this, is when did you complete your processing at the KCC? And that becomes your actual order sitting on top of your case number. Is that right, John? I think that's about right.
So interesting question. So there was some testimony at the depositions that was given on this point that the government has then said, oh, wait, we screwed up. We need to redo that part of the deposition. So I don't know what the right answer is on this, because we're hearing two different versions from the same source. So we'll see.
Are you saying the government doesn't have anything to do what they're doing? You're not saying that, right? I mean,
It's been known to happen on occasion.
Greg, do you think there'll be EB2 movement in the August visa bulletin?
If they really want to get EB2 numbers, I mean, if they weren't just like, lying, then they should significantly advance or even make the whole category current if they are genuinely trying to pull in applications to be able to use up the numbers in that category. But I don't know on here because it's very hard to figure out like what they're trying to accomplish with what they're saying. So the answer is I do not know.
This is a really good question. How many folks from Chakrabarty got their green cards? We don't know because we didn't track Chakrabarty people afterwards. But it looks like a huge chunk of them because how many? Not that many have signed up for our lawsuit. But I love the last question. Did they retaliate? John, does the USCIS retaliate?
Since joining private practice, I've always said the same thing to this question. A conspiracy to retaliate requires two things: competence and ambition. So I think we're safe.
Yeah. I did track I didn't set alerts on all of the remaining Chakrabarty plaintiffs, but I do have alerts set in my USCIS account for the folks who did mandamus cases with us in that week after the cases all got split up. And a number of those have recently gotten approved. I love seeing that. So congratulations to those of you who should have gotten your green cards last year. Happy to see you getting them this year. But we do have a number of Chakrabarty plaintiffs, just like non-Chakrabarty plaintiffs in the same situation who are, who are still stuck and joining us this year. But I don't see any evidence of retaliation.
Goes away, Lily. I can't wait till this problem goes away. I mean, we shouldn't be having this discussion year after year. Gomez, go earlier in the show, applied I-130 my wife in May. He's basically saying they're telling him 24 months for an I-130 for the spouse of either a resident or citizen. That's outrageous, one. Two, the months that are on the USCIS processing page, urge you to, I don't think she said this explicitly, but I think I read into it that they're just completely made up and not based in reality.
So what she said was that they are transferring as many as they can out of, I think she was specifically talking about Texas and Nebraska, but they're transferring a lot of the ready to adjudicate cases to the service center, to the local field office. And so she's saying that those really high numbers that are actually increasing at the field offices are misleading because they are skewed by the fact that the cases that have gotten stuck for whatever reason are the ones that are still stuck there, whereas the ones that have moved quickly aren't in that statistic because they're being sent elsewhere to be adjudicated. So it's still, that's not much consolation if your case is still at the service center with a really long backlog listed, right? That the number that's now on the case processing times, they say, is the 80th percentile. So 80% of cases supposedly are adjudicated in less than that time, but the statistic is kind of meaningless if the cases if they're going elsewhere before adjudication anyway.
I will tell you, our experience is 8 to 10 months for spouse, either resident or citizen. That's been last year or so, kind of the number that I see. And that's why you look at that and you go, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because it's not true. That's why it's crazy, because it's not true. Iman says, I hope you have a better argument than last year. Thank you, Iman. I appreciate that. Aaron, do we have a better argument than last year?
Well, last year we won.
Exactly right.
I think he's saying, and I'm not sure. I'm sure what he's saying, but I think he's saying if they're going to get to 55,000 or something approximating that, do we have a good argument to get?
Well, we mentioned earlier on that even using the judge's formula, if that's what he wants to use, they should really be at max, because He's saying the reduction in immediate relative numbers is the indicator for the reduction that should have happened because of COVID for DV. So since the immediate relative numbers are at pre-COVID levels, then basically the DV numbers should be maxed. So I would argue it.
All right. So how much retrogression in October for EB categories? Why would there be retrogression? They're supposed to move the numbers in accordance with their ability to adjudicate those cases within the 12-month period that follows. That's Charlie Oppenheim's statement. So why would it go backwards?
It goes backwards if they waste all the numbers and they don't get reserved.
Well, there you go.
Then you can see retrogression because the forecast for final action dates wasn't met on there where they would be in September of the fiscal year. I could see numbers retrogressing if we don't win.
And we did hear that, where all the extra visa numbers are coming from, of course, is the fact that the consulates for a long time were processing very few family-based cases, and those numbers were rolling over. And we did hear from the State Department that this year, that they're still not maximizing the family-based green cards, but that processing has returned to closer to normal levels. So there won't be anything like this level of rollover again to the next fiscal year, which is, all the more reason we got to get these extra numbers used this year without opportunity isn't coming again to clear the backlog.
There's still a lot of consulates that are not processing these preference-based family cases in any priority whatsoever. So I do expect some rollover, but not 100,000. I mean, maybe 10 or 20 or 30 or something like that. And it'll probably be the last year that there is rollover. That's part of it. Hashim thinks 40 to 50,000 for DV 2022. Obviously, Hashim, they intentionally didn't issue them. We know that. Does Garland, this is a great question from Rajesh. Does Garland versus Gonzales have any effect on the loss strategy? John, do you want to opine on that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're fine as we've formulated the arguments already, and targeting in on the internal policy memos that Greg has mentioned earlier is pretty much our lead argument. And I think that should carry the day. I think more than anything, that really is a roadmap for the government to get out of this case.
Well, it's clearly the majority's opinion on immigration that it should never be reviewable under any circumstance ever, and they can do whatever they want. And Congress should fix that. That's that. But the Garland case is very specific in the context of removal, and not in benefits. So I agree with John. I don't think it has an effect, but I think for me, it signals a direction, and the government might want to go. Our last question is this. This is a great question. A U.S. agent told me that requesting an expedite means my case loses its place in line. If that is true,
if you recorded that, please forward it to us.
Please, that is, and what USCIS agent did you talk to? Was it the people at 1-800-USELESS? Because they're not immigration employees.
That is, I can believe that they said it, but it's completely false, and B, if they ever got caught saying that, they would be in trouble.
I do know that they are so swamped processing EAD applications, and just about everybody who files an EAD is filing an expedite request, that they're at their wits' end, and they've lost all composure, and they're kind of losing themselves in their responses to the people that they're supposed to be serving. So I believe that it was said. I don't believe that's the case.
By the way, we're getting reports that even for healthcare workers with the actual EAD expedite policy that they're not following their own policy.
No, not at all.
It's probably taking them longer to deny the expedite than it would to actually issue the EAD.
Oh, the 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Probably. The EAD lawsuit does not include an I-131. We already addressed when we think DV 2021 are going to be done. That's a good question. Will the Go plaintiffs and Good Luck plaintiffs, if we win, will there be a separate queue? As far as I know, there's a separate queue going forward. So we'll see. We just don't know at this point. So Adam should he record the conversation next time? Only if you are in a state that allows one side recording. Check your state.
Some states say that it's unlawful to record a conversation if the other party doesn't know and agree. So check your state law.
Check your state. Last one, I'm going to run. Filed FOIA request from a medical center last year attached to underlying. Well, I think that would delay your 485 adjudication because the physical file gets sent to a different location to review for the information. So I think a FOIA does in fact delay an adjudication of a case. So you guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we see this in immigration court all the time that, we file a Freedom of Information Act to get the client's A file because, they've had some stuff in the past that we want to make sure we've got the whole file. And then we show up in court and the DHS attorney says, sorry, I don't have the A file. So we do know that if it is an old physical file, they do grab the physical file and the FOIA folks scan it and process the request, meaning that it's no longer in the hands of the adjudicator.
What they're supposed to do in that scenario is create a T file, the temporary. Yes. And they can adjudicate off the T file. But then again, there's a lot of things that they've historically done and they're supposed to do that I don't know what's happening internally any longer, what they're doing with the process.
Well, this is the last one because I think it sums up everything. Any read on why they split primary and dependent applications? I think this is referring to EADs. Sounds counter to
adjustments as well.
Adjustments. This, my friend, this is management by the Peter principle, is what this is. This is people wholly unqualified to do their job, making a crazy ass decision that makes no sense.
I think it's a perfect example of bureaucratic growth, because what they did is they took a system for which they were adequately manned. It was working very smoothly. And they thought, if we break this system into a whole bunch of different pieces and assign it to a whole bunch of different people, we can justify more employees. And that's what bureaucracies always do. They look for a way to expand their scope and the number of employees that they're managing, because that's all they get their prestige from in the government. You're not getting prestige.
Yeah, I just had a case this week for naturalizations where the husband was naturalized over a year ago and the wife just got naturalized last week. They were both completely, clean cases without any reason to figure out why there would be such a difference on there. No explanation.
Yeah.
Consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Well, I guess it's a foolish.
I
still think it's funny. Thank you, everybody. It's been a fun week. We'll be back next week with an update, and then we'll be filing the week after that in our EB case. You all have a wonderful week. Thank you, John, Greg, Lily, and Aaron for joining us today. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.